I'm so forgetful, but you always remind me you're the only one who brings me peace. You're the only one who brings me peace. I'm so forgetful, but you always remind me you're the only one who brings me peace. You're the only one who brings me peace. So I come, Lord, I come, I come. Lord, I come to tell you I love you, to tell you I need you, to tell you there's no better place for me than in your arms, to tell you I'm sorry for running in circles, for placing my focus on the waves, not on your face. You're the only one who brings me peace. You're the only one who brings me peace. I'm so forgetful, but you always remind me you're the only one who brings me peace. You're the only one who brings me peace. So I come, Lord, I come, I come. Lord, I come to tell you I love you, to tell you I need you, to tell you there's no better place for me than in your arms, to tell you I'm sorry for running in circles, for placing my focus on the waves, not on your face. You're the only one who brings me peace. You're the only one who brings me peace in the storm. In the storm. I'm so forgetful, but you always remind me you're the only one who brings me peace. You're the only one who brings me peace.
Good morning, Rooted Men. Matt Ryan, Elder Firmly Rooted Ministries. Pleasure to be with you this morning, this very sunny morning. I always start by talking about the weather, but that's not really fair because where I am, it's like 82 and sunny, I think 364 days out of the year. So, but good morning. I hope that things are well for you as we approach the end of Holy Week. We worked through this week-long study together the last week of Jesus' life, and there's just so much on our minds, so much to be thinking about. And this morning, of course, being Good Friday, is such an interesting day in the church calendar anyway. It's such a day to be deeply thoughtful, reflective, thinking about the Lenten journey, the sacrifices, all the things that we try to do to mark this critical time in the church calendar. Today's a day that we are really kind of living in thought, pensive, reflective, right? I'm not going to get into, what Good Friday is all about. Obviously, we will have plenty in that direction. Plus, we still got to stay on point here with our study in Corinthians. So anyway, I hope that this morning finds you well. I hope that this study has got you working mentally, emotionally this week, thinking about the wonder that it truly is to live under the grace of God, our Father, our Creator, and what it means that today we mark His Son going to the cross. We mark the first understanding of grace as it applies to us. That God loved us so much that He couldn't stand a life to be separated from us anymore. Sent His Son that He would die for us. It's heavy, right? It can definitely be heavy. So, this morning's study, let me see if I can make it a little better than that. There we go. I think maybe I finally got it so you can read it. Good morning to a couple of you who have commented. I don't really have a good setup here for dragging those in. Looks like Pastor Tom, Ken, Bert. I'm sure there's others. Chuck. Good morning to you all. I'm sure that there's others here watching. So we're studying 1 Corinthians in chapter 7, and today's one of those sections that when you're hosting these devotionals you don't want to get because it's a little, it can be awkward to talk about or whatever it is, right? What we're really dealing with this morning is the idea of contentment, and the idea of being content in whatever station life has you in. Now, Paul's speaking through being married versus being single in this particular section, but really the message of contentment applies so universally. Morning, Conleys. Oh, here, let's see. Oh, there we go. I figured it out. So we'll read through. Now, for the matters you wrote about, it is good for a man not to have sexual relations with a woman. But since sexual immorality is occurring, each man should have sexual relations with his own wife, and each woman with her own husband. The husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife, and likewise, the wife to her husband. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but yields it to her husband. In the same way, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but yields it to his wife. Do not deprive each other, except perhaps by mutual consent for a time, so that you may devote yourselves to prayer. Then come together again, so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. I say this as a concession, not as a command. I wish that all of you were as I am, but each of you has your own gift from God. One has this gift and another has that. Now to the unmarried and to the widows I say, it is good for them to stay unmarried as I do. But if they cannot control themselves, they should marry, for it is better to marry than to burn with passion. So real simply here, we can, take these things out and understand again that this is a message about contentment, wherever you are, right? So he's saying, I wish you could be as I am, meaning I'm single. I am celibate, obviously, is what he's talking about. But that means I'm free from distraction. I'm living my life wholly dedicated to this Christ that I'm following. And I wish you could all do that. But I understand that's not human nature, right? So understand this is what he's talking about here. That whether it's in union with another or whether you're living a period or a long period, whatever it is, of being solo, that the point is to be focusing our energy on God, not being distracted by fleshly desires, right? So we're talking about the two kingdoms here, as we tend to do. So don't get caught up too much in what you're reading and get off. But one thing I really want to point out here that's so important, the do not deprive each other part. More importantly is the end. Then come together again so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. So that ostensibly says, or out front, like apparently says, you can't control yourself, right? But I think more about Satan will not tempt you. How often is it that Satan tempts us when we're alone, when we're separated from each other, right? When we're in these moments where in the context of a sexual relationship, right? When we haven't been intimate, we haven't been close. And that closeness and intimacy doesn't just mean sex, right? It doesn't just mean physical. But those are the times when we are so likely to be attacked, right? Satan finds those cracks. Anything that you can take as being separated from your spouse. We're not in line right now. We're not even intimate. We don't have the magic. We don't have what we used to have, right? Any of those ways are cracks for the enemy to get in. And I think it's just this tiny little part of this verse, but boy, it's so important, right? And no, I'm not saying that, you must be having sex every day or multiple times or whatever in order to be close. It's nothing like that. But how can we find that intimacy, that relational and emotional intimacy that we need so desperately, right? What are ways we can find it that might not just be the one avenue, right? I mean, yes, God created that act, and that act should be in part of the marriage relationship as glory, right? Honoring God by doing it the right way. But it's more, it really is more than just the physical stuff. That when you're emotionally connected, when you're spiritually connected, there's just a way that you approach the world. There's a confidence, there's a comfort, right? And what all of that is safety. Part of psychology, especially child psychology, digs so deep into what are you rooted in? Where do you find safety? And I'm not talking about you and necessarily your conscious adult mind, but that child mind that's still there. In so many ways, I still think the same way I did when I was 5 or 6 years old, right? Now, maybe experience and time has taught me to do things differently, to speak things differently, to behave differently, right? And we call that maturity, but my thoughts are still those thoughts. My thoughts are still so deeply rooted in that need for safety, that need to be attached, to be tethered, whatever it is that you call, right? Really easy for us to talk about being rooted like that tree planted by the river whose fruit comes in season. That's why we're from the Rooted Ministries, right? We're talking about all of those parts of me that still feel unsafe can be pulled from this kingdom because they find their safety and their identity in the proper kingdom. And it is such a tremendous gift to know that, to be able to come to the foot of the cross every morning and die again to those old needs, those old wants and desires, all the things that child in me needs. But I visualize that redemptive relationship with Christ as like I'm going back in time to talk to that kid. All the things he was scared about, all the things that he wasn't sure would work out, and tell him, hey, it's okay. I got this. And that's really what a beautiful picture of providing safety for those needs and moving forward in this life, saying, okay, I'm good. I'm taken care of because I'm covered at the cross. I'm wholly redeemed and loved. And what does that mean for the way I interact with the world and how my contentment drives my being happy, being joyful, right? Joy is not this temporary thing, but it's a state of mind that's intentionally chosen. So wherever it is that you're in life, whether that's single or in a relationship, whether that's, you're married, you're widowed or widower, the wrong word, whichever one that is, whatever it is, I call on you this morning to renew your contentment with whichever it is that God has gifted you with in this time, whatever the situation is, understanding, even though this can be particularly hard to think this way, that each day is a gift from God, meaning that when we're living in regret, living in the past, longing for something we don't have, we're missing it. We're missing the moments to live with Him in contentment today, each day. I know it's not an easy word, but Good Friday is also not easy. So I guess maybe it's a good day for that. I hope that sits well with you, just to be content. And so much of contentment comes from being connected relationally, wherever that is, whether that's friends, buddies, old friends from high school, wherever it is that you are finding connection. And for those of you who are not, for those of you who live like me and feel quite lonely in this world, find it. Find connection, create it, because it matters so very much. And if you're feeling alone, even though you're married, I challenge you to dig back in. Start with yourself. What can I do differently to make my spouse feel connected and appreciated and loved in this moment? Not this year, this week, not even this day. What can I be doing differently in this moment? What's the next right thing to do that I can create that connection that I so desperately need? All right. Sending love back to you all in Michigan. I am guessing it's a little colder there today than it is here, but at least you're not burning your fair Irish skin like I am. So I love you all. Let's make it a good Friday. Let's have a firmly rooted day, and may someone see Jesus in us today.